Hi, and welcome to Life Addictions, the recovery show, where we talk about life addictions, whether it's drugs or alcohol, sex or love, gambling, procrastination, and even criminal addiction, spending or food addiction, nicotine addiction. We'll cover it all here. Today we have a very special guest, and Lauren Seaman from the Orchid. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your company.
Thanks for having me here today. I was just informed, though, that I only have 20 minutes to speak, and that's very short for me. Anyways,
She's a big talker.
My name is Lauren Seaman, and I'm the National Outreach Coordinator from the Orchid Treatment Center. And we're a 22-bed facility for women in Palm Springs, Florida. And we have women that come to us from all over the country. We've even had women from Europe in our program. We're a specialized center for women. We do trauma, addictions, alcohol, drugs. But as I always tell families, that alcoholism or substance abuse is usually a symptom of something else.
Right.
So women, anybody really uses because of, usually I say self-esteem, low self-esteem, no self-worth, not feeling good enough, pretty enough, smart enough. No matter what we do, it's never good enough. So at the Orchid, we're focusing on the whole woman. We're doing acupuncture 3 days a week to relieve that craving and anxiety. We do yoga, where the women go to an actual yoga studio, so they're incorporating that practice. Fitness 3 days a week. We do a lot of trauma work. A lot of the women come in with, they've been physically, emotionally, sexually, verbally abused, maybe a loss or a death or an accident or a surgery. So we do what's called experiential therapy, psychodrama, narrative therapy. We've really got to get to the root of the problem.
Right, because alcohol or drugs, it's just a symptom of the problem, isn't it? So the underlying causes vary from woman to woman.
Correct.
Yeah. So the Orchid is in Palm Beach. Lauren was gracious enough to be our guest today. It really is a wonderful facility. She is the National Outreach Coordinator. And if you viewers are watching and you have a family member, if you know somebody, a woman, obviously for the Orchid especially, please call the Orchid. We're going to give you that information and those numbers later. But it really is a wonderful facility here in Palm Beach, Florida.
We're in Palm Springs.
Palm Springs.
Right, Palm Beach County.
Right, Palm Beach County, South Florida. So tell us about some of the length of stay. If somebody's looking to maybe have a family member, some of the viewers know some friends that maybe need your help there. What's the stay? Is it 2 weeks, 4 weeks?
Minimum 30 days.
Okay.
We go up to 120 days. So it's some women are with us 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days.
Okay.
It's all depends
So minimum
on that
30 days.
Correct.
Okay.
30-day commitment to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, this is about making a commitment to our lives. You know.
Now, we had many different CEOs from other rehabs, and this is unique because this is strictly for women. So tell us a little bit about the benefits from being a co-ed recovery center, which a lot of them are. I'm guessing 80 to 90% are co-ed, and then a very small majority, maybe 10 to 20%, are men or women, right?
Well, the difference is, we believe that if you put the genders together in treatment, you put men and women together in treatment, and you take away an addict or an alcoholic's best friend, their drug, their drink,
Right.
The next best thing to fill that void is the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Isn't it easier to look at the cutest guy in the room or the cutest woman in the room
That's true.
and focus on them in the group instead of looking at ourselves? And maybe it's not the woman over there that's acting out, but it's the rest of the group, and they're all sneaking out and they're hooking up. And
That happens a lot in co-ed facilities, doesn't it?
correct. And really, two sickies don't equal one welly.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
how do I want to say it? Treatment romances really aren't your best. That's not where you're going to find a mate. That's where you go to reclaim yourself and your soul.
Yeah.
So if your self-esteem is low and you don't believe in yourself,
Right.
what are you doing in a relationship? We need to focus on ourselves in
Yeah.
recovery.
Yeah.
And they've always said that. Your first year is about looking and finding yourself and reclaiming your voice and the
Yeah.
person that you want to be. So we believe that women need to be with women so they can focus on themselves and do that our program is very intensive. And it's really, we do a thing called the mask. Because as women and men, we tend to wear a mask. We walk around, everything's okay, I'm all good, life is great.
Right.
But really behind that mask is all our emotional pain. So we really, it's called Healing Arts, and we do, where we create the mask one day. We do a meditation and we paint our masks. And then we do a drumming and we remove our mask.
Interesting.
And this is really about taking down that wall.
Yeah.
And really finding that person, who are we really?
Yeah. It's really wonderful. We've had, like I said, many, many different guests on. And just by talking to you and if you're a listener and if you watch several of our shows, you can tell where Lauren's coming from is really a special place. This Orchid must be really, really special. It's more holistic, more like a Zen type point of view.
It's many modalities.
Yeah.
All our therapists are women. They're all licensed either mental health counselors, licensed clinical social workers. They're all master's level trained therapists. We also have a healing arts therapist, nutritionist, yoga instructor, acupuncturist, psychiatrist, psychiatric nurse practitioner. So it's not just one modality.
Right, it's several.
As people, we're more than just one thing. It's not just about the 12 steps. It's not just about holistic. We've got to heal the whole person. And it is my passion. This is my passion.
I tell you, it sounds like it. I can hear it, and it really comes from a place of healing and a gentle place where people in recovery, really need that. And it doesn't sound like it's a strict environment, although it is fairly intensive.
Well, it is pretty structured.
It is pretty structured, right?
No cell phones, no laptops. This is about us really embracing and being present in our lives.
Yeah.
And we feel if you're on the phone and you're on your computer all day while in treatment,
doesn't work.
You're not present in your recovery.
Yeah.
So this is about us being present in our lives, because that's something when you're out there using drugs and alcohol,
right,
you're missing.
Now, Lauren, I guess you see the gamut of all kinds of different behaviors and patterns that contribute to, using drugs or alcohol. What other kinds of addictions do you guys, is it a food, if you have a food addiction, is that the Orchid the place to go, or not really?
Primary is substance abuse. Secondary would be trauma, dual diagnosis. Probably 90% of most women in addiction have some form of eating disorder, poor self-body image.
Yeah.
So we do address it, but if it is an acute situation, we would refer them to an eating disorder clinic.
Gotcha. There's so many addictions out there. We here at Life Addictions and Recovery Show have a product called the Recovery Pod, and it's a individual iPod. You see it here. It is a MP3 player that's already downloaded with audio. We have one specifically for alcohol. We have one specifically for drugs. So if you're watching, if you have a family member, this really works best with therapy. It really works best with going to 12-step meetings. But if you don't have any of that, and if you need something, if you're a viewer, if you know somebody, Life Addictions, the recovery program, offers you the Recovery Pod. It's an MP3 player already downloaded. It comes with headphones, a charger. You just turn it on, hit play, walk around, multitask. It really keeps you focused on recovery. If you're not in recovery and you're looking to get into recovery, it talks about 12-step meetings, or right around the corner. They're free and easy to use. It gives you tremendous ideas on where to go, how to get better. Some of the tools that people like myself, I'm in recovery, use, and how we got clean. So we've used the latest in mind imaging technology, neurolinguistic programming, some of the latest in the brain science of change. And it's all on an audio thing. You don't have to read anything. although it does come with a 4-page laminated guide. So if you're interested, we'll give you some of the contact information. But Lauren, you see my product out there. We've seen each other at shows, numerous shows, conventions. What do you think about a product like this to assist in maybe an add-on to some of the things that you do?
I think the more tools that we have,
Yeah,
the better off we're equipped.
The
You know,
better
I
off
always
we
say
are.
that we come in a treatment, we're carrying a trunk, and
Yeah.
then when we leave with a little toolbox. So the
Right.
more tools we have
Yeah.
in our recovery,
yeah.
the more power we have.
Exactly. This is one of the great tools. You know, we talk a lot about current events, and I got to tell you, you know, I just can't keep track of all the people that are in the news. You know, a lot of people we talk about in current events are famous people, people that represent millions of us that aren't famous. You know, one person like Charlie Sheen could possibly represent 10,000 guys that are going through the same thing that
Right.
he's going through, except they're not well known or famous, but their lives are falling apart. Same thing with Lindsay Lohan, you know, whether she's, you know, shoplifting or whether she's going through some kind of addiction. You know, there's tens of thousands of girls like her that don't have that famous name that are going through it. And we also talk about different addictions like criminal addiction, sex and love addiction. A lot of these patterns that, you know, manifest in drug and alcohol use. And as soon as you take out the drug and alcohol, you really have to look at these individual ones, and I'm sure you guys do at the Orchid, or it comes up, doesn't it, these underlying causes?
Well, as soon as you remove that substance,
Yeah.
now the real person or the reason that people use to start coming up. So we've got to get to that, as I told you, we've got to get to the root cause.
Yeah.
You know, and really look at the whole woman. Or in your case, you know, if it's a man's facility, the whole man, you know.
Right, right.
What's behind all this? You know, and a lot of it stems from childhood. I believe a lot of, you know, we weren't given the coping skills of how to deal with life and life's terms.
Right.
You know, and that's what we do in treatment. We've got to teach people how to walk through life.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what we learn in recovery. It's not about running from the pain, it's about walking through the pain.
Yeah.
And getting to that other side.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I ask every guest this question, and different people answer it throughout the show, and you gave many great answers. But how do you get a person to stop using and abusing drugs? What would be your answer to that? How do you get a person to stop using and abusing drugs or alcohol?
Well, I mean, I think all of us have to hit our own emotional bottom.
Yeah.
So it's kind of we all have our own journeys, you know, and some people's bottoms are gut level
Right.
to the streets, you know, homeless.
Yeah.
And then there's the high bottom, drunk or alcohol, you know.
Right.
So I mean, it's everybody's journey, and it's their own
Yeah.
emotional bottom.
Yeah.
You know, it's that emotional. You know, we have women that come in and they're done. You know, they
Right.
don't want to. They can't stand themselves anymore. You know, you look in the mirror and you don't like what's looking back at you.
Yeah.
And it's time to make that change. And so we've got to help them to start peeling away of the onion, tearing down that wall,
Right.
and help them to open up. We've got to build the self-esteem back up and teach women that they're important and that they deserve to have a beautiful life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think all of us, you know, in recovery, we deserve happiness. But for some reason, alcoholics and addicts, we don't feel we're worthy.
Right.
I don't,
Right.
you know, it's just the way we're programmed.
You know, I've heard a lot of people that are in recovery, you know, they say they can put up with one or two problems in life. But when you give them 4 or 5, it just becomes insurmountable, and they look for some kind of escape. They can surely handle 1 or 2 issues, but any more that come up, they just break down, and, you know, it's time to run for the hills. And
But there's nothing worth ever picking up again over.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, this is, you know, life is going to continue to happen to
Right.
all of us. You know, that's life.
yeah,
People die. We get sick.
right. You get foreclosed on, you get divorced. so many things
It's
that happen.
life on life's terms, but
Yeah.
if you have faith and you believe and you work the steps and you get a sponsor and you go to your meetings and you have a therapist and you connect,
Right.
you're never alone.
Yeah.
We're never alone. I mean, what a gift recovery is. I mean, I'm going off on recovery.
No, it really is. Whether it's drugs or alcohol, and I see these guys in the news and these girls in the news. Again, back to people that are famous in the news. It's Representative Weiner. Lately, in my opinion, I think the guy has a sex and love addiction.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been doing it for years. He's kept it well hidden. I mean, and to think it hasn't gone on for tens of years is ridiculous. It has. And that's the thing about addiction. You can look at yourself, and if you're listening, your family members, people that really 5, 10, 20 years go by like that in addiction. Mm-hmm. And you really have to put the stop on it early on as soon as you notice it, or, it could literally be 10 years down the road that you could be in an addiction for 10 years and not really know it until things start happening, like this Wiener guy, when the, hits the fan.
Well, because we're extremists, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you got to hit that bottom. So
Right.
obviously he's going off the deep end.
And his is probably, from what I can tell, and I'm a certified recovery specialist, is a behavioral addiction. It's not a substance addiction that I can, from what I hear, but it's absolutely a behavioral addiction that is really destroying, the lives of people around him, those that, his addiction touches. And, whether it's him or whether it's this ball player that I see in the news lately, being charged with foreclosure stuff, that crosses over to criminal addiction. He's getting charged with criminal charges, as is the latest vice president runner. His name slips my mind, though. He just got charged. Wayne, who is that guy that is getting charged with? He ran for vice president a couple years ago.
Edwards.
Edwards.
Yeah.
Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a guy that, married, wonderful family, has some kind of, in my opinion, again, a sex and love addiction.
Well, it's about, it's kind of, you get to that echelon and now that's not enough.
Yeah.
With addicts, it's never enough. It's
Right.
about looking outside yourself to fill that dark space within.
Yeah.
And so, here you have everything and now, it's not enough.
Right.
More.
Yeah.
Isn't that, an addict?
Yes,
More.
it is. It is
we
an
always
addict.
want more.
And you would think that these guys have enough. They've got the money, they've got the family,
But
they've
it's
got...
not about, it's got to be within.
Yeah.
It's about being with that inner peace within ourselves.
Right.
And so if we're not spiritually connected and we're
Yeah.
not at peace within,
That's true. That you really hit the point on the nail there. It's within. If you have to be at peace with yourself, it can be drugs, it could be criminal addiction,
shopping.
That's the answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really
It's
is.
about being okay in this moment, in the present. Am I okay right now? And staying in that moment.
Lauren, you're one of the founding members of the Orchid. Tell us a little bit about the history of this wonderful place. And again, you could tell by listening to Lauren, the Orchid Recovery Center is a very unique place. Tell us a little bit more about how it started, the history of it. How long have you guys been around? And
We
you said
started the Orchid back
Yeah.
in 2004, and our first client flew in during one of the hurricanes.
Wow, okay.
So we started during the hurricane.
Wow,
And she was
2004.
like, I'm coming. So we started with 14 beds. And quickly evolved we moved up to 18 beds, and then we went to 22 beds. But our staff is like a family. We're all passionate about what we do.
Are you a detox center as well, or
No,
they
our
come to you
clients,
after that?
we work with a detox center that we bring our clients to before. What happens is the client flies in.
Right.
If I'm in town, I pick the client up at the airport. If not, we have a driver pick the client up. And
So
then
you're very hands-on.
yes.
Very hands-on,
Yes. Yes. So basically, if somebody calls and they're looking for help at the Orchid, and maybe we're out of their price range, we are private pay, we're private insurance,
Right.
then I'm going to find another facility for them to go to. You know, it's like,
Gotcha.
that's, as people in recovery and
Yeah.
working in recovery, our obligation is to help people find the appropriate place. So if it's not the Orchid, then we've got to help them find somewhere else
Yeah.
where they can get help.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm glad you mentioned about insurance, because it's, if you have insurance, and it's so hard today to, for insurance companies to accept inpatient treatment. I mean, it's just so much red tape and everything.
well, we don't bill at an inpatient level. We bill at a partial hospitalization and intensive outpatient. We're a life skills center.
Okay.
So we're not your traditional treatment center where it's all one campus.
Right.
They live in healing cottages. Everything has been aesthetically decorated. And then we have a center where they do their groups. So this is about teaching women life skills also while they're in treatment, because if you lock me up for 30 days,
Right.
and I'm not learning any of the things I need to do when I go home,
Yeah.
then everything's a shock to my system. So we're taking them to actual AA meetings. They're going to Publix where shopping is a pleasure
Right.
once a week, learning how to budget, learning how to cook. These are all the things we need to do when we go home.
Right.
So we're teaching them how to do that while in treatment. They go to an actual yoga studio 3 days a week, so they're really incorporating that
Right.
practice of yoga, to a real fitness center. So we get in this new routine,
Yeah, yeah. So you're out in the world, you're out in the real world, you're not,
but in treatment.
but in treatment, yeah.
And it's all structured, and they're with, we have resident managers that are with the clients, so they're never on their own.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I can't say enough good things about the Orchid. It surely is a wonderful place. If you're listening, if you have a family member, if you have a wife, a daughter, an aunt, somebody maybe
Cousin.
a coworker, cousin, whoever it could be, right? You could run down the gamut of the female labels. Please call the Orchid. Lauren's going to give you the number, the website. Jot it down. You never know if you have somebody that might just possibly look like they're having issues or problems with drugs and alcohol. Lauren, please look in the camera. Let them know where they can reach you for some help.
Our number is 888-672-4435, and that's our toll-free 800 number, which goes directly to my cell phone. So I'll be available to help you any way I can. Also, our website is Orchid, ORCHID, recoverycenter.com. Again, my number is 888-672-4435, and I look forward to helping you.
And Lauren is the National Outreach Coordinator. So Lauren, no matter whatever state they're in, they could be in Alaska, they could be in, this is an international channel. So you could possibly have somebody watching from England. They could.
Well, we've had women from London in our program.
Okay. So no matter where they're at in this world, they can come to the Orchid.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. And let me give you the phone number if you are interested in the recovery pod. It is area code 717-991-4755. Again, 717-991-4755. Lauren, I know you're going to take a couple of these with you, and we have some paperwork that we're going to send you that after you use them, they can be reimbursed for insurance. So it's audio therapy, and it is now covered by insurance. So that's a new thing that we've just discovered in the last couple months.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is awesome. It's good to know, because health coverage and insurance, if you have it, it's a wonderful thing and you should use it. And especially for addiction, whether it's drugs and alcohol, sex or love, criminal, procrastination, food addiction, spending addiction, whatever it is, give us a call here. Stay tuned. Lauren, you've been a wonderful guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here today. Thank you.